I jumped out of bed from the heartbreaking screams in the street. It was still dark. The screams did not stop. I took my phone to check the time. It was 4 a.m. A little about me. I am 25 years old. I am an athlete, a healthy, strong guy. I live alone. I work in security. I could not understand what was happening. People were screaming in the street, running. It was not clear where, and it was not clear from whom. There, in the street, everything was burning, but there was no light in the other houses. Later, I heard shots and someone said, "So that they do not go outside, lock themselves in their houses, do not turn on the lights." I took my phone again, for light, went to another room. There I opened my safe and took out a gun from it. It was a Makarov pistol and 2 clips for it. Then I got dressed, just in case, put all the documents and went into my backpack. Since they told me not to turn on the lights, I closed the curtains tightly and turned on my laptop at minimum brightness. I sat there for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, looking for some news about what was happening. Then I passed out. I woke up when it was already light and light was shining through the curtains. The laptop was dead, there was no electricity, and no screams either. I carefully looked out the window. It was quiet there. But everything was ablaze. It was like in a movie about zombies. I took my briefcase, a gun, then checked again if I had taken everything. Then I went outside. It was quiet there and scary. The street was quiet. It was empty, no people, no animals. There was only abandoned transport. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what to do or where to go. I stood there for a while, thought about it, and decided to move to the nearest police station. I didn't meet anyone on the road. The streets were empty. The cars were abandoned. I approached the station, looked around, then went inside. It was empty. I walked around the station. No police, no prisoners, no one at all. Then I decided to go down to the basement for a gun. Yes, I have a gun, but I have a feeling that it will not be enough. I found a flashlight and went to the basement. It was dark there. I walked a little. I saw a door. The door was slightly open. Blood was pouring out from under it. I took out the gun and went to the door. I was scared. I shone the light on the door. Blood was flowing from underneath it. It seemed to be quiet there. I went up and abruptly opened the door. They shot at me, but I was lucky. The bullet went out through my shoulder. I shouted that I was a man and that they wouldn't shoot. A female voice answered me. I entered that room. There was a girl sitting there. She was about 18, 20 years old, but she shot in vain. I asked her what happened while she was telling me I was collecting the guns and cartridges. It turned out that when it all started, she ran to her father, but her father was the boss here. But when she entered the station, 2 zombies rushed at her, and one was her father. I ran to the basement. There were weapons there. The zombies rushed after me. I ran into the room, grabbed the first weapon that came into my hands and killed the zombie. I was scared. Then I passed out and woke up when I heard your steps. She told me the story. We gathered all the weapons we could carry and ran out into the street, but in vain. A crowd of zombies came running towards us in the street, having run up to the shots. We quickly ran towards the supermarket, shooting zombies along the way. We ran inside and barricaded ourselves as tightly as possible, sat down on the floor. She pressed herself against me and cried. When I woke up on the street, it was already light. Natasha, by the way, that was the girl's name, was sleeping peacefully on my shoulder. We ran through the supermarket, collected all the canned goods, then went to the pharmacy where we collected all the medicines. Then we left the supermarket. We were heading out of town, checking cars along the way. Almost all of them were broken. Then we got lucky. We found a van. Not just a van, but a whole house. A house on wheels. We were very lucky. I got behind the wheel, and Natasha was next to me. We were almost out of town when we heard cries for help. I stopped. We took a shotgun and ran towards the screams. There we also saw a mobile home, but it was surrounded by a crowd of zombies. We quickly killed the zombies. People came out. There were 2 guys and a girl. We rode in their van to ours. We changed and drove further out of the city. Altogether, we finally had a company that could defend itself. We had been driving for about 2 or 3 hours already. We were running out of gas. I didn't even know where we were going. The radio was playing quietly in our car. Suddenly, the music changed to a hiss, and then words began to be heard. It was hard to hear, but something like, "Go to Los Angeles. There is food, water, and most importantly, military protection." We decided to go there. We opened the map that was in the car. It was too far from us, but we decided to try. There was nothing to lose. We moved, but there was little fuel. I hope we will make it to the nearest gas station, and I also really hope that there will be fuel there. The fuel was already running out, and we hadn't seen any gas stations yet. We didn't know what to do. I suddenly had the idea to drain the fuel from other cars along the way. We stopped. I picked up the phone and went through the cars. The others were looking for food, water, maybe weapons. In general, I drained about 8 or 10 liters. So this will be enough for us. If we are lucky, we will find a gas station. And yes, there was a gas station about 500 meters away, and a small shop at the same time. Natasha and I went into the shop for canisters, food, and most importantly, water. There were not many canisters left, about 5 liters. We went into the store, armed to the teeth, but there was still a feeling of fear. Well, of course. A person who is not afraid is either sick or pretending. We collected everything possible from the store. Then we went to the technical department. There we took the parts that fit our cars. God forbid something breaks. We filled up with fuel and set off. We drove for about 34 hours. It was already getting dark. We had to stop and sleep. We were all very tired. There was a sofa and a chair in our car. Well, as a gentleman, I gave the girl the bed and sat down in the chair. I don't know what was in the other car, since we didn't even get out of the cars. Around 3 o'clock, Natasha woke me up, said that she was scared and that I should lie down next to her. I lay down next to her, and she fell asleep in 5 minutes. When we woke up, it was already light outside. Natasha was still sleeping, hugging me. I didn't really want to wake her up, but there was a loud knock on the car. I grabbed the gun, and Natasha jumped up. They called my name. It was the guys from the other car. I went out. It was warm outside. It was mid-July. It turned out that the guy's car had broken down. Well, we couldn't leave the van. So 2 guys stayed to fix the car, and I decided to check out the area with 2 girls. We walked a bit and saw a village. I quickly returned to the guys and said that we would go in and check it out. The village was abandoned. Well, that's not strange. People were either killed by zombies or they moved out. We went into the first store we came across. We collected food and water. We had enough water and food, so we weren't very hungry. Something fell in the utility room. I gestured to the girls to be quiet, and I pointed the gun and moved towards the door. Blood was flowing from under it. I abruptly opened the door. A very nasty smell immediately went into my nose. A zombie was hanging there in a noose, and a gun was lying nearby. Girls, it looks like the guy didn't have the guts to shoot himself. Well, shall we spare him the torment? I took the gun in my hands and was about to shoot when one of the girls stood in front of the gun and asked, "Are you stupid? Do you want all the zombies in the area to come running?" Damn, I didn't think of it. I took a knife and stuck it into his head. We took everything we could and decided to run around other shops. It was still light. It was about 11 o'clock. Here we came across a police station. The fuel was already running out, and we hadn't seen any gas stations yet. We didn't know what to do. I suddenly had the idea to drain the fuel from other cars along the way. We stopped. I picked up the phone and went through the cars. The others were looking for food, water, maybe weapons. In general, I drained about 810 liters. So this will be enough for us. If we are lucky, we will find a gas station. And yes, there was a gas station about 500 meters away, and a small shop at the same time. Natasha and I went into the shop for canisters, food, and most importantly, water. There were not many canisters left, about 5 liters. We went into the store, armed to the teeth, but there was still a feeling of fear. Well, of course, a person who is not afraid is either sick or pretending. We collected everything possible from the store. Then we went to the technical department. There we took the parts that fit our cars. God forbid something breaks. We filled up with fuel and set off. We drove for about 34 hours. It was already getting dark. We had to stop and sleep. We were all very tired. There was a sofa and a chair in our care. Well, as a gentleman, I gave the girl the bed and sat down in the chair. I don't know what was in the other car since we didn't even get out of the cars. Around 3 o'clock, Natasha woke me up, said that she was scared, and that I should lie down next to her. I lay down next to her, and she fell asleep in 5 minutes. When we woke up, it was already light outside. Natasha, hugging me, was still sleeping. I didn't really want to wake her up, but there was a loud knock on the car. I grabbed the gun, and Natasha jumped up sharply. They called my name. It was the guys from the other car. I went out. It was warm outside. It was mid-July. It turned out that the guy's car had broken down. Well, we couldn't leave the van. So 2 guys stayed to fix the car, and I decided to check out the area with 2 girls. We walked a bit and saw a village. I quickly went back to the guys and said that we would go in and check it out. The village was abandoned. Well, that's not strange. People were either killed by zombies, or they moved out. We went into the first store we came across. We collected food and water. We had enough water and food, so we weren't very hungry. Something fell in the utility room. I gestured to the girls to be quiet, and I pointed the gun and moved towards the door. Blood was flowing from under it. I abruptly opened the door. A very nasty smell immediately went into my nose. A zombie was hanging there in a noose, and a gun was lying nearby. Girls, it looks like the guy didn't have the guts to shoot himself. Well, shall we spare him the torment? I took the gun in my hands and was about to shoot, when one of the girls stood in front of the gun and asked, "Are you stupid? Do you want all the zombies in the area to come running?" Damn, I didn't think of it. I took a knife and stuck it into his head. We took everything we could and decided to run around other shops. It was still light. It was about 11 o'clock. Here we came across a police station. We saw a police station and were very happy. But we decided not to go in, but to go get the guys. We came back. The guys were still fixing the car there. They asked us to help them with something. We did everything that was needed. They fixed the car, tried to start it. Everything was fine. I asked the guys to check our car just in case. Well, everything is fine with ours. Nothing needs to be repaired. The repair of their car dragged on for a long time, so today we didn't go anywhere, but first had dinner and then went to bed. Natasha immediately asked to lie down with her. I was glad. I was starting to like her. A beautiful girl. She has everything. I woke up very early. The sun was just rising. Natasha was sleeping peacefully on the other side of the bed. I quietly got up and went outside. Everyone was still asleep. I went to the toilet and thought about what I would do now. Well, the first thing I thought about was having breakfast. I quickly made myself breakfast, ate it, and sat down to wait for the others to wake up. Well, I waited for half an hour. Finally, everyone woke up. They had breakfast. We collected weapons, flashlights, and moved to the village to check the area and everything else. We approached the area. The door was slightly open. I went in first. It was dark there. One of the guys came in after me, then the girls, and a man brought up the rear of our so-called column. While everything was clean, we walked around. First, we found a few flashlights. In one office, we found a safe. We quickly opened it. There was a PM and a clip for it in it. Then we went down to the basement. There was a huge iron door. It was locked. "So what do we do now?" I asked. "Well, we can look for the keys," Vika said. "By the way, that was the girl's name." "No, that would take too long and we need to get out of here as soon as possible," Victor said. That was the name of one of the men. Then let's shoot through the lock, I suggested. We can, but all the zombies in the area will come running, Dima said. What if we have time to escape? I said. I was about to shoot when Natasha shouted that we shouldn't. Why? This is the second time you've stopped me. Look over there, in the cell. I looked into the cell. There was a dead man lying there, and next to him was a dead zombie. So what? A corpse. No, look, there, next to him, there was a pistol with a silencer. We were lucky. I took it and shot at the lock, then opened the door. There's a whole bunch of weapons there. I couldn't understand where so many guns came from in the village. We found about 10 silencers, 3 for M16 and the rest for pistols. We took everything and started to leave the area. Then they cleared out the village and moved towards the vans. We left the city and were already moving towards the vans. I was walking ahead. The guys and girls were not far from me. Then I stopped abruptly and motioned to the guys to be quiet. A large group of people were rummaging around our vans. All the weapons were there. Then they broke into the car and wanted to leave. I took the rifle and wanted to shoot. When I thought that the zombies would hear and come running here, they got in and left. We were left without transport. We had no map, no compass, no navigation, and the navigation probably hadn't worked for a long time. But we had a goal. We had to get to Los Angeles. We decided to go back to the village and spend the night in one of the houses. We went into the first apartment that wasn't too damaged and had dinner. We sat there for about an hour, maybe 2. I was very sorry to lose the cars. Half an hour later, everyone went to bed. I was sitting quietly in the room we had rented for temporary use. Natasha went to bed, and I was sitting by the window, slightly opening the curtain. Natasha suddenly sat down next to me, gently hugging me. She's a beautiful girl, but this life is not for her. I woke up before everyone else, got up, went to the bathroom. I hoped that there was still water, but in vain. I went down to the kitchen, found a bottle of water there, went to wash up, and made breakfast for everyone. In about 20 minutes, everyone woke up. We ate and started discussing what to do next. The map was left in the car. Okay, we'll probably walk for now, and then maybe we'll get lucky and find a car, I said. Yes, there were a lot of cars, but not all of them were fixed. We went outside, and I saw a garage in this house. We didn't notice it at night. I tried to open it, but the door was locked. Let's try from the inside, Natasha suggested. Good idea, Vika encouraged her. We found a door that seemed to lead to a garage. It was locked. Then I took a pistol with the silencer and fired 2 shots at the lock and then kicked the door down. There were 2 cars there. Everyone was very happy. Guys, I interrupted their joy. But are you sure the cars are safe? I climbed into one of the cars, tried to start it. Something suddenly grabbed me by the neck and tried to bite me. A minute later it fell dead and the windshield was shot through. Dima saved me. I understand, of course. You are brave and all that. But before getting into a car you need to check it, Dima told me. Thank you. Sorry, I answered. I threw the corpse out of the back seat and tried to start the car again. Great! It started, the tank was almost full. Then Diamond checked another car, and it started like a charm. We threw everything into the trunk, and they moved to Los Angeles. We left the garage and headed towards our hope, Las Vegas. We hadn't even driven 23 kilometers when our car broke down. Why are we so unlucky? I cursed. I got out of the car, decided to look around, and asked the guys to fix the car. I didn't really understand this. When I was watching Dima fix the car, I noticed zombies out of the corner of my eye. First one, then a second, a third, a fourth. More than 100 of them started coming out. They noticed us. Run into the forest, I shouted. What happened? Vika asked. I said run, I answered. We ran for a long time. The zombies seemed to have fallen behind. I was the only one left with a pistol. It was that same PM. It was loaded with one clip. We had no spare clips or bullets. We'd been walking for about 45 hours. It was getting dark. Everyone was very tired. Okay, let's stop, I said. We had no food, no water, no weapons. We had no map. We didn't know where we were and where to go next. It was already dark. We didn't even have flashlights. We were just sitting. Everyone suddenly jumped up from Vika's screams. She was being gnawed by a zombie. I shot at it without thinking. Vika was bleeding. She was slowly dying. We understood that she couldn't be saved. I took my gun and pointed it at her. Dima ran up to me. Are you stupid? She's still alive. We can't kill her. She's a living person. You understand? She can't be saved. I answered him. Guys, don't argue. I understand. I'm not long for this world. Lesha, please, kill me. I can't stand this anymore. Kill me, please. I don't want to turn into one of these creatures. I pointed the gun at her head, closed my eyes, and pulled the trigger. Dima was running here and there, tearing his hair out. Dima was 30 years old. He seemed to love Vika very much. She was 25. In short, listen, Vika can't be brought back. Sit down. Calm down. We'll sleep in turns. I'll be the first. Natasha started to say something to me, but after a few words she realized it was useless. I don't think anyone slept that night. It was already getting light. Everyone was already awake. We silently got ready and moved on. No one wanted to talk about anything. Everyone was deeply immersed in their thoughts. We had been walking for a very long time. Everyone was very tired. Everyone wanted to eat and drink. Home! There's a house ahead! Natasha shouted. What are you yelling about? Dima asked her. Where? What house? I asked. Well, look. Natasha pointed. Yes, there really was some house there. Well, shall we go in? I asked. Well, let's do it, Victor answered. Everyone supported him. We approached the house, walked around it from all sides. The windows were boarded up. We approached the doors. They were locked. Well, we can shoot through the lock, I said. Firstly, we don't have much ammo. Secondly, we don't know if there is anyone there. Thirdly, we don't know how far behind that huge group of zombies is. Victor objected. Let's try to knock it out then, I suggested again. No, I can try to open it. You don't know me well. Dima intervened. Yeah, you don't know him well, Victor added. Natasha, do you have a hairpin or something else? Dima asked. Yes, I do. She took a hairpin out of her hair. Dima took the hairpin and went to the door. He dug around there for about 10 minutes. Then he stood up and said, Hooray, it's done. We entered the house. There were 3 sleeping bags, 3 huge backpacks. Natasha, come on, open that backpack, I told her. There's food in the backpack. She answered me as soon as she opened it. So run. Let's grab all the backpacks and sleeping bags. And run out of here, I said. How far have we gathered? A guy was standing in the doorway with a shotgun in his hands and was aiming at us. We raised our hands up. 2 more guys entered behind the guy, also armed. On your knees. Run, one of them said. I kneeled down, and at that time I suddenly grabbed the gun from the holster, kill one. The second, Victor pounces on the third and knocks him out with one blow. Run! Take everything and get out of here, I said. We quickly got ready and started cleaning up. As soon as we went outside, a car drove up and 5 people got out of it. Stop! Shouted one. Run! Run! We ran deep into the forest and shot back. It seems they have fallen behind. Okay, let's move on. We finally got out of the forest. We found ourselves on a country road. It was warm outside. Okay, guys, let's move along the road. We'll get somewhere. If we're lucky, we'll find a car, I said. Good. Natasha supported us. We reached the bus stop. Oh, the bus stop, I hope it's not far, Victor said. There was a small shop at the bus stop. So what? Shall we go in? Natasha asked. Well, let's go in, I said. I seemed to be the boss here. Everyone listened to me. I didn't put forward my candidacy. But that's how it happened. I opened the door abruptly. The store was quiet. There was no one there. It was a simple stall, so there were no canned goods in it. Maybe just bars. Guys, just don't take the products that will spoil quickly. We don't know how long we have to walk, and whether there will be shops along the way. We left the store and moved on. It was now 12:13. It was very hot. We walked for a very long time. It was already 18 o'clock. We did not meet a single store or a single car on the road. We walked for another half hour and finally the first houses began to light up. Hooray! We've arrived, Dima shouted. We'll spend the night in an apartment tonight, I said. We entered the city. It was already getting dark. We went into the first house we came across, and we saw a door, and on it was a sign. There are people here. We approached, knocked. There we heard the sounds of a bolt being pulled and steps towards the door. Then we heard the sounds of locks. A grown man opened the door for us. Hello, I said. Run through, then we'll talk, said that man. Throw your backpacks down, face the wall, feet shoulder width apart. Guys, stand still. Just a precaution, said one of the people. They searched us. First they took our weapons, we'll keep them for now, said the one who opened the door for us. By the way, I'm Andre, he's Oleg. We're not alone here, let's go. I'll show you around. They opened the door for us. There were about 10-15 people there. I asked if I could be with you. We'll help. Yes, the men won't bother us. I hope you're good people, said Andre. He seemed to be in charge here. Can you shoot? Andre asked. Well, if you didn't know how, you wouldn't have gotten here. I answered him. Okay, guys. He gave us back all our weapons. We'll talk tomorrow. Where should we sleep? I asked. Damn, right, let's go, I'll show you. We went up to the top floor. People lived on this floor. He showed us to the last apartment. Here, come in, he said. Thank you. We went in. Didn't look at anything. Went to bed. We woke up in our beds. The sun was shining outside. Natasha was sleeping on my shoulder. I think I fell in love. Okay, no time for that. We finally got a good night's sleep. I looked at the clock on my wrist. It was 12 o'clock. No one woke us up, that's good. I took some food from my backpack and went down to the apartment we ended up in yesterday. I knocked on the door. Andre opened the door for us. Good morning, he said. Good morning, I said. Let's go. I'll show you to everyone. We went down to the basement. They had a kind of dining room there. Sit down at any table. I'll come to you now, Andre said. 5 minutes later, Andre came up with a tray with food on it. I thought, finally I'll have a normal meal. Andre, how long have you lived here? Natasha asked. A week. He answered. I see, I said. We'll go for a walk, Dima said. Good, he said. We went outside and looked around. We spent the night in a multi-story building. So what? Where are we going? I asked. Look over there. A huge building. It looks like a shopping center. Shall we go there? Natasha asked. Do you think they haven't cleaned everything out here in a week? Well, okay, let's go, I said. We entered the building. There was nothing interesting there. I found a map. It turns out there was an airport in this city. Guys, can anyone fly? I asked. Well, I can. I flew. I even wanted to become a pilot and make money from it, Victor said. There is an airport in this city. Have you ever thought about how we will get to America? After all, we had to cross the ocean. And here, we have a good chance, I said. So what? Who is in favor of flying? I asked. Well, let's try, Natasha answered uncertainly. I don't even know. We have little chance of getting there alive. We don't know if it's true, if there are people there. And who was talking on the radio? We couldn't have heard it from America, could we? Dima said. Indeed, we couldn't hear it from America. Who was that person who spoke on the radio? Where was he speaking from? I think it will be easier for us to survive in America, I said. So what? Guys, are we flying? I asked again. Okay, we're flying, everyone said. We returned to that house, took our things. People were told that we urgently had to leave. We ourselves headed to the airport. There were practically planes destroyed, broken, but we were apparently lucky today. We found a whole plane. Victor climbed into it and tried to start it. It had more than enough fuel. Apparently someone tried to fly away but didn't make it. We loaded into the plane and Victor took off. Victor took off carefully. I was sitting next to him, the guys in the cabin. Nothing interesting happened during the flight. I was in the role of the second pilot, although I had never flown. We had more than enough fuel, so we didn't worry too much about it. We flew for about a day. Well, in short, we flew for a long time. The landing was soft. Well, it shook a little. That's always the case. We packed our things and got off the plane. It was so quiet and scary at the airport. We didn't have a map, so we didn't know where to go. Let's find a car. Maybe someone left it here? Natasha asked. No, let's go into the building first, spend the night here, and then we'll explore everything tomorrow morning, I said. No one objected. We headed to the airport building with our weapons at the ready because we knew if there were zombies there, we were in America, everyone was here for the first time. We knew nothing. We combed the building with flashlights and didn't find a single zombie. But just in case, we went to spend the night in the baggage department. There was a smaller room there. I'll clean everything up there. Okay, we'll sleep in turns. I'll probably be the first on duty, I said. How about you get some sleep? I'll keep watch. Victor objected. Vitya, you haven't slept for 24 hours. And what are you telling me? You need to get some sleep, I said. He didn't object. He was probably too sleepy. Everyone went to bed. Natasha came up to me, lightly hugged me and said to me, maybe I'll sit up. Natasha, go to sleep, I objected. Oh yeah. She wanted to say something. Go to sleep. She left. I was sitting by the window and from this place I could see the city. Huge, flaming skyscrapers. Almost all of them were burning. Dima woke me up. Go to Natasha, I'll keep watch, he said. I didn't object. I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was still dark. Dima was sleeping. It seemed like it was Natasha's turn now. I stood up, went up to her, sat down next to her. Lesha, go to bed. She told me. No, I'll sit here with you. I answered. I looked at my watch. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun was already rising. She and I sat and looked at the city. The others woke up at 8 in the morning. We had breakfast. Well, what? Let's go and have a good look around. Let's look for a car. The city is not far. We can walk. But it's still better in a car. We walked around the entire airport. There wasn't a single car. Okay, let's rest for a few minutes and then move on foot, I said. It was 10 a.m. It was hot. Okay, are you ready? Let's go, I said. We left the airport and headed towards the city. We were walking along the road. There were a lot of cars, but they were all burned. The city was about 57 kilometers away. We hoped to get there today. We didn't want to spend the night on the street. We hoped to clear out the apartment and spend the night there. I looked at my watch. It showed 4 o'clock in the afternoon. At 8 o'clock, we approached the city. We were in Los Angeles. Well, guys, let's look for a place to stay for the night, I said. I didn't know then that it's better not to enter big cities. It's very dangerous there. We entered the city, walked between the streets. It was still light. There, look, let's go to that house, said Natasha. Well, let's go. We'll spend the night there and tomorrow we'll see. I confirmed. We entered the house. It was dark. We used flashlights to get to the second floor. We didn't meet a single zombie. We broke into the apartment, went through all the rooms several times, checked everything several times. There were 4 rooms in this apartment, a kitchen, a bathroom, a toilet. Natasha and I slept in one room. Victor and Dima divided the rooms. Finally, we could get some sleep in the bed. In the evening, at about 11 o'clock, we had dinner and went to our rooms. I woke up, as always, hugging Natasha. Looking at the clock, I was a little stunned. It was 12 o'clock. I went to the other rooms to wake up the others. We had breakfast and were going to comb the city. But then something started pounding on the door. I looked through the peephole and was a little stunned. There was a huge crowd of zombies. I went to the window, looked down. There were a lot of them there too. We had no choice. We had to jump. I jumped first. The zombies immediately moved towards me. I started shooting back. The guys jumped after me. Run. Into that alley, I shouted. Someone yelled in a foreign language. Natasha knew English. He said, "Run here." It was a man of about 40. We ran after him. We ran to the bus without thinking twice, and we didn't even have time to think. A crowd of zombies was chasing us. The driver stepped on the gas, and we tore away from the city. They had a farm or something outside the city. The bus stopped. There were several Americans there. Almost none of them spoke Russian. Natasha translated everything for us. They took us into the house. There were about 5-10 more people in the house. We didn't really count. Several of them were Russian. We weren't the only smart ones. They spoke Russian, but then it turned out they were from Ukraine, like us. They lived in this city, but when all this crap happened, they went here with these people. We lived with these people for a month, and then something happened. I woke up as usual. It was already light outside. I looked around. Your mother. All our things. I screamed. Everything is gone. I crawled under the pillow. My PM is there. Phew. At least they didn't take it. Everyone stood up. We ran downstairs. There was no one there. They all left, said Natasha. We went into the canteen. Well, like a canteen. We always ate there. There were 2 pistols and 1 machine gun on the table, some canned food, and a few bottles of water, and a note. Guys, I hope this is enough time for you. We need to leave immediately. Goodbye. Manda, I said. Okay, let's get out, find another city, maybe other people, Natasha said. Okay, pack your backpacks. Let's get out. Dima said. We went outside and started thinking about where to go. Let's go west, Victor suggested. What's there? I asked. I don't know. Let's just go there, since we don't have a goal now. Victor answered me. We stopped in all the stores along the way, collecting everything we could. We stopped in a sporting goods store. We found tents and sleeping bags there. Now we'll have a place to sleep, I said. We left the city and moved further along the road. It was already getting dark. We left the road, a little into the forest. We'll spend the night here, and tomorrow we'll move on. I said, okay, I'll be on duty now. And you go to bed, Dima. I'll wake you up in 3 hours, Victor said. Okay, Dima said. He was clearly tired and really wanted to sleep. 3 hours later, I heard Dima being woken up. Then Diamond was going to wake me up. I fell asleep. Dima woke me up. I looked at my watch. It was 5 o'clock. I was already sitting until everyone woke up. At 9, everyone woke up. When we were eating, I asked, listen, what is our goal? Where are we going? I suggest we go to the CDC. Perhaps there are doctors there. They will help us. Well, let's try. Dima supported me. Okay, we have nothing to lose, Natasha said sadly. Let's move to the nearest city. We look for a map there. As far as I know, the CDC is in Atlanta, so we should go there, Victor said. I agree, I said. And we set out. We had a goal again. We set out. We had a goal again. We knew what to do now, and we knew where to go. And we were moving towards the nearest city. We didn't know how far it was, we didn't know how long we had to go. Along the way, we came across burnt-out cars, wrecked ones. We found a first aid kit in one of the cars. That's good, we were lucky. We walked straight along the road, didn't meet any people. On the one hand, that's good, because there are a lot of marauders. They killed, robbed people, in some cases even ate them. We walked for a very long time. There were short stops. We probably walked about 10 kilometers, but by evening we still hadn't reached the city. We had to spend the night on the street. I was so hoping that we would get to the city today, we would sleep in a bed tonight. But apparently it wasn't meant to be. After dinner, everyone went to bed. Except for me, I stayed to keep watch. Dima was next. I was supposed to wake up in 34 hours, as I wanted. That's what we agreed on. The night passed peacefully. No one bothered us. Everyone got a good night's sleep, if you can say so. We also had breakfast. We got ready and went to the city. On the way, we found a car. I just went to look at it, and the car looked intact. There's a key in the ignition. I turned it. The car started. Everyone got in, and we drove off. We were lucky for the first time in a week. In just 4 hours, we could already see the silhouette of the city. I was hoping to spend the night in bed tonight. After driving around the city for a while, we didn't meet any people. Okay then, let's look for a house, spend the night there, and in the morning we'll comb the city, I said. Everyone supported me, as they were very tired and falling off their feet. We drove up to an unknown house. We got out of the car, took our backpacks, weapons, and went to inspect the building. We killed a couple of zombies inside. We set up a post, as we usually did, and went to bed. We didn't even eat. There was little food. We were saving it a lot and hoped to find food tomorrow. We woke up, drove a bit. Nothing interesting happened at night. So let's split into pairs. That way we can comb everything faster, I suggested. Well, let's do it, everyone said, almost in unison. Then let's do it this way. At 17, so that everyone would be in this building. Agreed? I asked. I went with Dima, Victor with Natasha. Why didn't you go with Natasha? I thought you were together, Dima asked. I don't know, I just decided to get some fresh air, I said. We went into the first store we came across. We took something that wouldn't spoil too quickly. We took some water. We walked around the store, hoping to find a map, but it wasn't there. We moved on. We went around a couple more stores. We didn't find anything interesting, and we returned to the house. It was 4:30. Our people weren't there yet, and then a minibus pulled up, or rather a house on wheels. We were lucky again. We took everything and drove to the car. The car was cool, big, and also, there was a whole bag of weapons inside. We cleaned out the police station, Victor said. Did you find the map? I asked. Of course. Natasha showed me the map. Well done, I said. We drove off. According to the map, we had to travel more than 1,000 kilometers. We hoped to get there in a month. The main thing for us was to get there. We were heading to the next town on the road to Atlanta. When we left the city, it was 7 o'clock in the evening. We figured it would take about 5 hours to get to the next town, if not more. We took turns driving and also took turns sleeping. So we drove into the next town at night. Well, to be more precise, we didn't drive into the city itself. It was night, dark. Cities are usually full of zombies and it's dangerous to drive into them, especially at night. So we stopped the car in front of the city and went to bed. We woke up at about 7 o'clock. It was the first night we didn't take turns on duty since Vika died. We ate and went to the city. Supplies, weapons, in short, everything that could be carried with us, we collected. We left the car at the exit from the city, and we ourselves went on foot, so as not to attract unnecessary attention. We all walked and chatted together. But turning the corner, everyone suddenly fell silent. There were more than 500 zombies there. And they noticed us. We quickly ran back to the car. But we didn't have time. Another group cut off our path. "Look, there's a hatch," I shouted. We quickly went down. It was dark there. We turned on the flashlights. There were 3 paths, right, left, and straight ahead. "Guys, let's go left. This is the approximate route to the car," I said. "Well, let's go." Natasha supported us. Finally, we reached the stairs. But then a zombie rushed from around the corner. He rushed at Dima. Dima fired a pistol at him but missed his head. I finished him off. "Dima!" I shouted. "Quiet! I can't be saved anymore!" Dima took the pistol and shot himself in the head. "Damn! Damn!" Vitya shouted. "We have to leave," Natasha said. We quickly climbed up and moved towards the car. But before we reached it, we saw that the path was blocked. The car was surrounded by zombies. There were about 10 of them. It was already getting dark, and we had to leave this city urgently. Let's try to clear them out. After all, we have weapons and silencers, Victor said. But then someone started shooting at the zombies. We turned our heads back. There were 5 people, 2 girls, and 3 guys. Natasha spoke to them in English. We didn't understand anything. They told us to take a car and follow them. They had a shelter. I got behind the wheel. They slowly directed me. 2 blocks later, we saw 2 cars. The guys, the Americans, got out of our car and got into theirs. We followed them. An hour later, we drove up to an old military base. They honked twice, the gates opened. We drove in after them. There were a lot of people there. Almost everyone had their own tent. Some lived in a mobile home, like us. Okay, we'll stay with them for a while. If they accept us, of course. I said. Those Americans who brought us immediately took us to their boss, so that we could sort of talk to them and ask if they would accept us. Since we were a complete zero in English, except for Natasha. She did the talking. We understood practically nothing, only some fragments of phrases. Then he called someone loudly and Natasha shouted, "Run!" We quickly ran to nowhere. They started shooting at us. We shot back. Without understanding anything, we ran out of the base and turned into the forest. We ran for a long time, then stopped. "It seems they fell behind," said Vitya. "What the hell happened there?" I asked. "Well, at first everything was fine. We talked. I told him how hard it was for us to get here. But as soon as I said that we were from Ukraine, it was like he went crazy. He immediately called his people. Well, and then we ran away," Natasha told us. "Okay, guys, everything will be fine. We need to find shelter for a while, where we could live, a week, a month, or maybe even stay there forever," I said. "Guys, let's go at night. We'll get to the nearest city faster that way," Victor suggested. "Vitya, it's dangerous," Natasha objected. "No, Vitya is right," I said. "The faster we get to the city, or at least to a small house, we have a better chance of surviving," I said. 5 minutes break and we move," Victor said. I agree. I supported him. After a little rest, we set off. It was only 1 in the morning. We still had more than 5 hours until dawn. So we walked and listened to everything that moved, kept our weapons at the ready. We could shoot at any moment. It was already starting to get light, and we had not yet left the forest. It seems we got lost. We walked another 5 kilometers and came to a village, of course abandoned, and quite a long time ago, even before the zombie apocalypse. All the houses were half destroyed. There was not a single one intact. We walked through this village and watched with surprise through the roofs of some houses. Well, to be more precise, and what was left of the roofs, huge trees grew. This indicated that the village was quite old. We picked up a more or less intact house, in which you can spend the night, and we went on to explore the village. There was no blood here. There had been no human here for at least 70-80 years. When we reached the next edge of the village, we were shocked, to put it mildly. 2 destroyed American tanks. 1 huge self-propelled artillery unit. We found another house. In the house, we found a basement. It was dark and very dirty. We were even surprised that it had not fallen yet. Well, other than that, we found nothing and returned to our house. There we sat and chatted until the evening. In the evening we had dinner and went to bed. And in the morning we went on. In the morning we woke up calmly, as always. There was just one thing. Our things were missing. And we woke up, we were in some room. I tried to move, but I was tied up. My friends were lying on the other 2 tables. We all had our mouths taped, we were all naked. I didn't understand what was happening or where we were. A man came into the room. He was wearing a medical mask, so I couldn't see his face. I thought, I have to get out. But how? He took the tape off my mouth. The first thing I asked was, "Where are we?" He didn't say anything. Gave me something to drink and some food. Then he taped my mouth back up and repeated the same thing with my friends. Day after day passed like that. I didn't understand why we were there. What were they planning to do with us? One of those days, the man came to us again. He took the tape off me and started feeding me. Suddenly, the siren went off. The guy suddenly jumped up and ran somewhere. Then another man came back, quickly took the belts off me and ran. I got up from the table and untied my friends. "Let's get out of here," I said. Walking past one of the rooms, I noticed our things. Entering there, I saw our weapons there. We quickly got dressed and started to run away from there. We went around everything, but didn't see any of the doors leading outside. We walked past the elevator doors. Vitya said, "Run, run," I said. We ran to the doors. I pressed the call button. The elevator arrived. When I got inside, I saw only one button up. After pressing it, the elevator moved. The doors opened and we got out. We found ourselves in a dark room. Having turned on the flashlights, we moved, holding our weapons at the ready. On the way to the exit, we killed several zombies. Then we saw a staircase up. We went up, opened the hatch, and we got out in a clearing in the forest. Damn, I'm sick of these forests, I cursed. Okay, let's go. We need to get away from this place and then we'll sit down and rest, Victor said. We walked half a kilometer and sat down to rest. Guys, what was that? What kind of people are those? What is the siren? Why are we there? I started asking questions, but I knew that our people, like me, knew nothing, and they also had a lot of questions. Sorry, a lot of questions, I said. Guys, I have an idea. Let's somehow mark this place and then come back and scout everything out. But now it's time to go, Natasha said. Agreed, let's go, I said. An hour later, we came out of the forest onto the road. Well, which way shall we go? I asked. We have a map in our backpacks. Let's take a look. Damn, we don't even know where we are. My head is spinning at all, Natasha said. Okay, let's go that way. We'll get to the city sooner or later. And then we'll figure it out from the map. I suggested it. Okay, let's go, Vitya said. We walked for a long time, about 4 to 5 hours. We were tired, and it was already getting dark. We decided to spend the night near the road, pitched tents, ate. We set up a post as always, and went to bed. We woke up as usual. The night passed surprisingly calmly. After having breakfast with what we had, we packed up camp and set off. We had a goal, to sit out a few days in the nearest town, replenish supplies and return here. We needed to reconnoiter the area, to understand where we were. We went out onto the road and headed towards the supposed town. We left tracks along the way so that we could find the way here later. We heard a car moving behind us. Quickly into the forest, I said. We hid. A military jeep flew past us. It seems from that military base. It's good that we hid. I doubt that after so many days they will be looking for us, I said. We needed to be on the safe side. We did the right thing, Natasha said. We went out onto the road again. They didn't notice us. We found abandoned cars along the road, but none of them were in working order. Guys, listen. Let's try to get into the military base, explain everything. Maybe they'll accept us. And then take a few armed men and go to the lab, Natasha said. Well, in general, we can try, I said. But first, to the city, for supplies, I said. We entered the city in the evening. It was 8 o'clock, still light, so we went into a grocery store, got some food, and went to a building where we could spend the night. Along the way, we found a lot of empty tin cans. So we pulled a rope at the entrance and hung the tin cans on it. There were no posts that night. We slept peacefully. No one bothered us. We tried not to attract attention. In the morning we ate, washed up and left there, leaving no trace of our overnight stay. We combed a couple of stores and were about to leave when 2 cars drove up to us. Several people ran out, tied us up, put bags over our heads. And they drove us somewhere. It seems we will get to the base ahead of time. We were riding in a car with bags over our heads. I didn't see anything. There's just one question. If they're taking us to the base, what's the point of closing our eyes? We've already been there. Okay, we'll get there and see. But now I was wondering how we're going to get out. About 15 minutes later, the car stopped. They pulled us out of the car and led us somewhere. No one saw anything. And then I heard the door of some cell open, which was characterized by a very creaky sound. They threw the bag off me, pushed me into the room, and abruptly closed the doors. In the room, I saw my friends, 3 beds, and 1 small room, something like a toilet. I immediately threw the bags off my friends' heads. They took everything from us. Then a small window opened on the door. They threw us 3 bottles of water and some food. I sat on the bed and started thinking about what we were doing here and where we were anyway. Then some guy came in, grabbed Natasha and led her somewhere. I tried to stop him, but I got a strong blow from the butt of a machine gun and passed out. I woke up on the bed. Victor moved me there. How long have I slept? Natasha hasn't returned yet. I asked this question as soon as I noticed that she was gone. No, she hasn't been gone for 2 hours, Victor answered. We sat silently on the beds. No one said anything. Then the door opened and Natasha was thrown into the room. They grabbed me and led me somewhere. We passed other cells. I didn't see anything that was behind the doors, but I assumed that there were people there too. We went up the steps, then went into the office. There was a man sitting there, about 40 years old. Gray-haired, with a mustache. They sat me down on a chair, and the guy told the guard to leave us. He wanted to say something in response, but he kept quiet and left. And so the man began. Who and where from? He started speaking in Russian. Strange. We are from Ukraine. I started, but he interrupted me. From Ukraine. And what are you doing in America? We are saving ourselves, I said. You are doing the right thing, he said. Then he called the guards. He said to bring the others. My friends came up. Listen carefully, guys. My guys have you mixed up. A few days ago, 3 young men snuck in here. They stole food and weapons, of course, not all, but they stole a little. There were also 2 guys and a girl there. In short, excuse me, the man said. By the way, my name is Oleg Ivanovich. If you want, you can stay with us. People won't bother us. You can confer, he added. We went out into the corridor. Well? Stay? I asked. I don't know. Some kind of gloomy guy. Although we could use a rest. So we stay? I asked again. So yes. They said it in unison. We returned to the office and said, well, in short, we discussed it and decided we're staying, unless of course you changed your mind, I said. Well, that's good. Sasha will show you and tell you everything." "A good man," I said. When we left the building, we found ourselves on a huge territory. Sasha said that it was a former factory. The territory itself was surrounded by a huge fence. The building we were in was the main building where all the main offices were located. Many different people were walking around the territory, each doing their own thing. "Are you planning to restore the plant?" I asked. "No. What are you talking about? We'll dismantle the plant and use the material to build houses for people," Sasha answered. "Have you been here long?" Natasha asked. "Almost as soon as it all started. This plant was abandoned, we were passing by, and we stopped in to spend the night." "Well, we decided to stay," Sanya answered. "He showed us everything, told us everything. Then he took us to their armory. It was in the main building. There were different weapons there." "Where did you get so much of it?" I asked. "There was a military unit about 20 kilometers away." "Well, we robbed it," Sasha answered. "Okay, let's get back to the main thing," Sasha said. "He will explain to you what to do," Sasha added. In 2 minutes we were already standing in the chief's office. "Well, did Sasha show you everything?" he asked. "Yes," we answered. "What do we need to do?" I asked. "Look, every day we go out to patrol the area in the region of 30 kilometers. If we find people, we bring them here, but so that they do not see the road here. And then, if they agree to be with us, we show and tell them everything in an accessible way. Every day at 12 Shan, you take a car and go on patrol. The first week Sasha will go with you, so that you can get used to it. And then on your own." The chief finished. I looked at my watch. It was now 13 Nash, which means the car had already left. "Oh, and also, you will go every other day, so as not to tire yourself too much. During the patrol, you will collect all possible supplies." "Well, that seems to be all. You can go and rest. There is a guard at each of the main doors. You will need passes. There are rank C passes. This is standard. There's a rank B pass. This is a higher level. And there's a rank A pass, with which you can get into any room. Rank C is for the general population. B we will give you, since you work for us. And then we will see. Come in an hour, pick up the passes." The chief has finished. "Sasha, take them to the rooms," the chief shouted. Sasha came in and we went with him to the living quarters. Our room was not big, a double. I lived with Natasha. Vitya lived alone. Every day we worked, as agreed. Only the guys went out. The girls still had their own work, cook, wash, and so on. After 2 weeks, all the supplies in the nearest town ran out. We had to travel further. The next town was far away, and it turned out that we leave in the morning and arrive either at night or the next morning. "Okay, let's say goodbye." Kissing Natasha on the forehead, I left the room. Victor was already waiting for me there. "Well, are you ready?" he asked me. "You ask me this question every time," I answered him. "And I've told you for the 100th time that I'm ready." We got into the car and drove off. There were about 20 miles left to the city. We drove around the corner and ran into a huge crowd of zombies. They noticed us. "Run! Let's go back!" Vitya shouted. "We can't take them to the base," I answered him. "There's a road through the forest." "Let's go around it," I said. I turned the wheel sharply. I turned into the forest and pressed the pedal to the floor. We were driving at 120 km/h. The car was jumping, almost turning over. I had already slowed down a bit when we approached the city. The zombies were no longer audible. I was very glad that we had broken away. "Listen, Vitya, it's getting dark, so we'll look for a place to stay in the city," I told him. "Uh-huh." Vitya muttered something. It seems he was still scared, and I really wanted to go home, to Natasha. I hoped that everything would be fine, and we would return alive and well. We walked around the city while it was not too dark. We found some food, a few bottles of water, and some other little things. Then we went to look for a place to spend the night. We chose a more or less intact building. We took everything for the alarm out of the car. We went into an apartment on the second floor. There were 2 rooms, a kitchen and a bedroom. Vitya, we will spend the night in one room. It will be easier to protect ourselves if something happens, I said. He just shook his head. I could not understand what happened to him because we saw hundreds of zombies. What could have scared him so much? The night passed peacefully. Nothing happened. I was glad. We ate a light breakfast and moved on to comb the city. In the supermarket, we found a bunch of canned goods and quick cooking food. Then we returned to the car. When we came out from behind the turn, we saw that there were some people near the car. There were 3 of them. I immediately took my rifle and aimed, and Vitya went to them. "Hey, what do you want near our car?» he shouted. «Пошел вот отсюда!» – крикнул один и направил ствол на Витю. «Это ты пока что живой», – сказал ему Витя и показал на красную точку у него на груди. Это был мой лазер. Этот сразу начал смотреть по сторонам, но я хорошо засел, так что меня не было видно. «Ладно, что ты сразу начинаешь?» – спросил парень, было видно, что он сильно испугался. «А теперь бегом от машины», – крикнул Витя. Один из них резко вытащил пистолет и только хотел выстрелить, но получил пулю. Витя достал свой ствол и направил на одного, я на другого. Я вышел из-за машины, но все равно не сводил прицел из него. «На колени, быстро!» – крикнул Витя. «Эй, Витя, вяжи их!» «Я прикрою!» Мы накинул на них наручники, у нас они есть. Так, на всякий случай. Закинули назад в машину. У нас было что-то типа полицейского пазика. Накинули мешки на голову и двинулись. Через 3 часа уже были на базе. Мы показали пропуски и проехали к зданию тюрьмы. У нас было такое здание. Их кинули в камеру, а сами пошли к начальству докладывать. Я постучался к начальнику. «Входите», – сказал он. «Здравствуйте, мы нашли 3 людей. Одного убили при сопротивлении», – отрапортовал я. «Ребят, уже поздно. Давайте разберемся завтра», – сказал начальник. «А сейчас идите отдыхать». «Спасибо». Я открыл свою дверь. Наташа бросилась на меня и была очень рада, что я вернулся. «Что у вас случилось? Почему так долго?» Посыпались на меня вопросы. Мы когда ехали туда, наткнулись на толпу зомби. Потом уже в городе темнело, так что мы там сразу и остались ночевать. Потом уже на следующее утро мы обыскали город, набрали кучу разной всячины. Наконец-то закончил. «Я поняла, я очень рада, что ты вернулся», – сказала Наташа и поцеловала меня. Утром я проснулся и сразу же пошел к Виктору, потом мы вместе пошли к начальству. Тук-тук. «Можно?» – спросил я. «Да, можно», – ответил начальник. «Что будем делать с теми людьми?» – спросил я. «Для начала допросим, этим займетесь вы с Виктором», – сказал начальник. «Ну хорошо. А что потом?» «А потом посмотрим, что они скажут, дальше разберемся», – ответил он. «Можете начать допрашивать уже завтра, пусть еще промаринуются в камере». «Хорошо. А сейчас мы можем отдыхать?» – переспросил Витя. «Да», – ответил Олег Иванович. Мы вышли из кабинета. Я двинулся к себе, а Витя к себе. «Витя!» – крикнул я. «Давай через час в баре. Я выпить хочу». «Хорошо», – ответил он. Через час я с Наташей были уже в баре. Через несколько минут пришел Витя. Он был весь хмурый и чем-то расстроен. «Витя, что случилось?» – спросила Наташа. «Кристина в госпитале. У нее пневмония. Меня даже не пускают к ней», – крикнул он. Тут зашел Саша и сказал, что нас вызывает Олег Иванович. Мы зашли к нему в кабинет, и он начал говорить. «Ребят, вы очень хорошо служили. Вы были практически лучшими. Я решил сделать вам огромный подарок. Пожалуйста, дайте свои пропуски ранга В. И получили пропуски ко всему, пропуски ранга А». «Огромное спасибо», я сказал. Я подал руку начальнику. «Ну а теперь можете идти», сказал он нам. «Витя, we have rank A passes. Now they have no right not to let us in. I told him. We approached the hospital. I said that we were going to see Christina. Young man, I already told you. I can't let you in. We took out our passes. Rank A, I said. Excuse me, please come in. I stayed in the corridor and Victor ran to Christina. Then I heard his screams, doctors ran in, then I followed them. Christina died. Christina died. She was not Vitya's girlfriend, she was just a very good friend. Vitya, calm down, everything will be fine, I said. We left the ward. Vitya, let's go interrogate this freak, I told him. They opened the cell for us. There sat a man, handcuffed to a chair. Listen to me carefully. I told him, you tell us everything in detail and we will not harm you. I finished. There is no one. I was with friends, you killed one, he said. Don't lie to us. Victor shouted at him and hit him in the face. Then there was a very long torture. At first he did not want to say anything. He simply kept silent or said that there was no one, there were only him and his friends. Vitya, let's go and talk, I said. Listen, let's do it this way. We go to the second one now and say something like your friend has already confessed to everything, and we want to hear his version. How do you like that idea? I asked. Good idea, he said. Then let's do it this way. You go to the second one and I continue talking to this one. At that word, we parted ways. Half an hour later, Vitya came into the cell. Come here, he said. I know where they are. Do you remember that base where we were almost killed? He asked me. Of course I remember, I said. These are that man's people. I have an idea to gather people and storm that base. The idea is good, but how are we going to tell people this? They won't just go and kill others, I said. We can think of something. I went to the canteen and got some food. I took this food to the prisoners. Let them at least eat something, I thought. An hour later, I'd already gathered all the people in the camp who knew how to shoot and were at least a little trained. I didn't even know how to tell them this. Guys, there is a military base not far from us. There are very bad people there. Those people, we brought 100, were from there. I want to suggest storming the base. They are not expecting it, but we need to find out what is there and how it is. I finished. People began to whisper nervously. Then one of them came out and said, We agree. If it must be done, then it must be done. People, one more thing. It will be very dangerous. You can be wounded or worse, killed. I'm not forcing you to do this. You can calmly refuse. I will not tell you anything. They talked about something else there. We agree. The same person said, Good. We will start training tomorrow. We will spend a week learning to shoot and fight. Then we will get together, and in about a week we will move. Does everyone agree? I asked. Yes. Almost everyone said it in unison. Thank you. Everyone is free to go. I'm done. We started training people. We explained how to kill better, where to shoot. We taught hand-to-hand combat. Our training lasted a week. I think people were already ready. Then we started watching that base. We wanted to understand how the sentries worked there. We calculated our plan down to the smallest detail. We prepared as if for a huge war. Our main task was to capture that base, to find out what kind of people were there. We didn't want to kill everyone. I had a plan. I wanted to use the element of surprise. A week later, we already knew almost everything about that base. I had an idea to send a few people there so that they would learn everything from the inside. I wanted us to understand how that base worked from the inside. The whole time we were watching the base, people were preparing. A month later, everything was ready. The people were trained and ready. The plan was ready. Everything was thought out to the smallest detail. 4 people were inside the base. In total, there were 25 of us. There was not a single woman. I thought it would be too dangerous. I realized that many would die. There, at their base, there were also children, women, old people. But I really wanted to know what the Ukrainians had done to them that they disliked them so much that they almost killed them. So, Sasha, are you ready? Vitya asked me. Probably ready. I answered him. I gathered the people. People, we have been preparing for this for a whole month. You all know exactly what you will do. I will command everyone. Victor is my deputy. If something happens to me, you will obey him. We leave tomorrow morning at 5 in the morning. Our approximate time of arrival is 1400. Then we will wait there until dark. Our people have really gained their trust. That night they will be guards, and they will let us in. We took 2 trucks and left. 2 kilometers before reaching the base, we got out of the car and went on foot. I didn't really want the people to hear 2 huge trucks approaching. An hour later, we were near the base. Well, guys, all that's left for us here is to wait. We sat in ambush for an hour. Then the time came. Exactly at the agreed time, the gates opened for us. No, we were not fools to enter through the main entrance. We went through the back doors. We neutralized all the guards. We worked very quietly. No one even imagined that there were strangers on their territory, and that they had less than a few minutes to sleep. Having abruptly broken down the doors, we burst into the building of their superiors. He didn't even have time to understand anything. The guys threw him to the floor and threw handcuffs on his hands. They taped his mouth. A few minutes later, everyone who could still hold a weapon was tied up. I didn't even imagine that everything would be so easy. I thought many people would die. No wonder so much preparation. Remember us? I pointed at myself and Vitya. Guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. He started apologizing. Didn't mean to what? Kill us? I asked. Tell me, why do you dislike Ukrainians so much? What did they do to you? How did they annoy you so much? Vitya asked. They didn't do anything to us, he answered. But why did you almost kill us then? I asked. Okay, I'll tell you, but just promise to let us go, he said. It depends, I answered. A long time ago, when we didn't have this base yet. We were traveling around the world, came across one building. They were good people. They fed us, helped us with weapons, but we had a plan. We wanted to capture their building and live there ourselves. We wanted to kill them. And then one of ours ran up. Let's go. I'll show you what we found, he said. We went into the main building. There was an open basement, and in the basement there was a bunch of corpses without limbs. They are cannibals. I ran back to the chief of them. Well, go on. What did you decide to do with them? We decided to kill them. And that's it. He finished. That's it? And you didn't want to eat them? You are cannibals. I took out a pistol and put a bullet in the chief's forehead. Everyone who was in his army died. Our people killed them. Then I turned to the common people. People? Did you know that they were cannibals? That they ate people? Everyone started saying that they knew nothing. That they themselves were in shock. I don't know why, but I believed it. Okay? Listen to me carefully. I will leave a few of my people. They will teach you how to shoot and leave your city. But if I find out that you also ate people, we will kill you. Understood? Yes. Everyone answered. I gave orders to a few people to stay. I told them to come back in about a week, and if something is wrong, shoot to kill, spare no one. By morning we were already home. Natasha greeted me as if I had just returned from the war. When I returned, the food was already ready. The clothes were washed. I immediately went to the shower. After the shower I went to bed. For a few minutes I heard Natasha lie down next to me. I suddenly jumped out of bed. Vitya burst into the room. Run! Grab everything! We have to get out! He shouted. What happened? I'll tell you on the way. Take everything and run! Natasha and I quickly gathered everything we could and ran. Everything was burning in the street. We could hear someone shooting, someone screaming. It was almost impossible to make out what and how. We jumped into the car and drove as far as possible from here. I looked in the rear-view mirror. A girl was running behind us and 3 zombies were behind her. I stopped. Vitya ran out with a gun and killed these zombies. "Run! Into the car!" Vitya shouted. 5 minutes later, I finally spoke. "You are Katya, aren't you? I've seen you several times at the base." "Yeah." "She still hasn't recovered from what happened. What happened to your boyfriend?" "You lived with him, I think?" "He's dead," she answered, sobbing. "We sympathize," Vitya said. "Okay, Natasha. Vitya, remember our plan? We wanted to get to the CDC. So maybe we should continue? Are we going to the CDC?" "Yes," Vitya answered. "Yes," Natasha answered. "Then let's move, Katya. Are you coming?" I asked. "Sure." "Well, if you don't mind," she answered. "We don't mind," I said. It was already getting dark. We needed to find a house to spend the night. We quickly found a house in the city. We set up the alarm and went to bed. Guys, I apologize that the story turned out to be short. I can even say very short. The continuation will be soon. Good luck to everyone. I woke up early in the morning. The sun was just rising. Everyone in our group was still sleeping. Everyone was very tired after yesterday. Everything happened very unexpectedly. I couldn't even imagine that it could be dangerous there. It was the safest place in recent times. We've been everywhere. A new person appeared in our group. We practically didn't know him. We didn't know what he was like. I took one of the rifles and climbed onto the roof. I wanted to look around. What's up? There had been no food or weapons in the city for a long time. Everything had been taken to the base. There were a lot of weapons and food left there, and there were also a lot of medicines. I was thinking about going back and taking everything we could find. But when we were running away, there were too many zombies there. So I immediately rejected this idea. Then I started thinking about the immediate plan for how to get to the CDC. I really doubted that there were any people left there. People were hoping, and I was a little hopeful too. It was surprisingly quiet outside. I didn't see any people or zombies. People are understandable, there are very few of them left, but zombies. Where did they all go? When I went down, everyone was already awake. "Where have you been?" Katya asked. I decided to look around. I answered. "Okay, let's go and hit the road. We still have a long way to go," Natasha said. We ate quickly. We sat for a few more minutes and discussed what we would do if the CDC turned out to be a dead end. What if there were no people there? No one could really say. I immediately closed the topic. "Okay, we'll figure it out on the spot." "It's a long way," I said. We went outside, got in the car, and drove off. "Guys, maybe we should have collected all the food that was in this city," Katya asked. "There is no food left in this city." "Oh, right, you don't know. Every day one of our groups went out for food. We completely cleared the city. Vitya and I had full access to all the facilities. I finished. I was driving. I had a lot of thoughts about our base. I even had thoughts about going back there, but I immediately discarded them. We were killing zombies along the way. We tried to save ammo, so if they ran out onto the road, we just ran over them. Luckily, it was a cool SUV. We were running out of fuel. We needed to get to one of the cities and fill up, if there was any left. Open the map. See where we are and how far it is to the nearest city. We are running out of fuel," I said. Natasha took the map. "To the nearest city. About 40 kilometers. Can we make it?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. We drove for another 20 minutes, then the car stalled. Out of fuel. "Damn," I shouted. "We need to go on foot. I hope we'll find a gas station and a car in the city. We'll spend the night there," Vitya said. We took all our things out of the car and continued on foot. It was light outside. I looked at my watch. It showed 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We left not very late. It was a bit hot outside. Although it was the last month of summer, autumn would soon begin. We walked for a long time. After all, it was 40 kilometers. 3 hours later, we saw a gas station. And yes, there was some fuel left, but we couldn't go back to the car. Several kilometers. We were very tired, and it was almost dark. I decided to pitch tents at the gas station and spend the night there, and in the morning fill up with fuel and go get the car. We found some food and water at the gas station. We also found one sleeping bag, which means that someone lived or lives here. Most likely he went somewhere, then was killed by zombies. Maybe he just left, but leaving the sleeping bag was a bad idea. After eating a little, we went to bed. Almost all of us woke up together. We filled up with gas and headed to the car. We were already walking faster since we had slept well and were cheerful. In 2 hours we saw the silhouette of our car. I filled it up and got behind the wheel. We moved on. Lately we have been seeing fewer and fewer zombies. This is good, but at the same time, strange. We saw the silhouette of the city already at lunchtime. We abandoned the car at the beginning, took all the things with it, and walked around the city on foot. There are a lot of zombies in such big cities. You have to be extremely quiet here. We went around several stores, found some food and water. Guys, the city is big. I suggest we stay here for a few days and go to all the shops and take everything we can carry, I said. Everyone agreed with me. At first I thought, maybe we should split into pairs, that way we would get around the city faster, but that would be too dangerous and I immediately changed my mind. Today's plans are to walk around the city a bit and find a place to spend the night. Okay? I asked. Everyone agreed with me as always. We all scattered in pairs and walked around the city. We walked very quietly, trying not to attract attention to ourselves. In rare cases, we shot zombies, but otherwise we tried to avoid them. We went around several stores, pharmacies, trying to take only the most necessary things. We didn't have a car yet, and we simply weren't going to drag much. We agreed to meet near the entrance to the city. Maybe someone would find a place to stay during this time. We all really wanted to sleep. Everyone was tired. After wandering around the city a little more, Natasha and I returned to the meeting place. The meeting time was 20 allo. My watch showed that it was now 19:30. Let's wait another half hour, I said. Within half an hour, no one came. I was already a little worried. Decided to wait another 10 minutes and then move in the direction they went. After 15 minutes, no one came. At first, I thought about going to look for them, but it was already getting dark. I was very afraid of getting lost at night in this city. It was too dangerous, Natasha. We're going to sleep now. But as soon as dawn, the slightest ray of sun, we immediately set out to look for them. We need to leave signs if they suddenly come so they can find us. I explained everything to Natasha. We went around many shops, continued to follow their trail for a long time. Our people were nowhere to be found. I didn't even know what to do. 4 hours had passed since we started looking for them, and we still hadn't found anything, not even the slightest trace that they had been there. The first shops we passed had no food, so our people were there, and they took the supplies. So I suggest we go back and pay attention to which shop our people finished. That way we'll at least know a little bit where they finished and where the trail ends. I suggested it. Well, okay, let's try. I just don't know what to do anymore. I'm really worried about them. They are our only friends. They are the only ones we have left, Natasha answered. We walked slowly back, checking everything again to make sure we hadn't missed anything. We tried to move very quietly, so as not to attract the attention of the zombies and not to waste ammo. There was little left anyway. We reached the place where our friend's trail ended. Okay, their trail ended at this building. The other buildings we were in were completely untouched, which means they weren't there. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We still had plenty of time to find our friends. Natasha, let's rest a little. At least half an hour, then we'll go on looking for people, I said. An hour later, we set out again. We set out again to look for our friends. We hoped that they were alive, although it was unlikely. It was early evening. The sun was just getting ready to sleep behind the horizon. A light, warm wind was blowing. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. We moved carefully, watching every rustle. We looked through everything we could. It was already getting dark, and it was time to look for a place to spend the night. We found a small house and went to bed in one of the rooms. I think it was a bedroom. Suddenly, I felt a rag near my nose. I passed out. When I came to, Natasha was not there. At least that's what it seemed to me. I was tied to a chair. There was a blindfold over my eyes and my mouth was sealed with tape. I tried to mumble something. Someone came into the room and hit me with some heavy object. I passed out again. I woke up still tied up. I was worried about Natasha. Suddenly I felt someone removing the blindfold from my eyes. It was Natasha. I tried to mumble something like, "Where are we?" She removed the tape from my lips and put her finger to my mouth, barely audibly whispered, "Shut up." Natasha untied my hands and started on my legs. When I was completely free, she went to our things that were lying in the corner. There were no weapons. We had to think of something. "Look," Natasha said, picking up half a brick. "Can I hit one of these people on the head and take the weapon?" I took this brick and began to wait behind the door. About 15 minutes passed and suddenly several clicks of the door lock were heard. I got ready. About 15 minutes passed and suddenly I heard several clicks of the door lock. I got ready. The door opened and some guy entered the room. He noticed me. I was ready to hit him. But strangely enough, he managed to grab my hand and started to strangle me. Natasha suddenly snatched the gun from his holster and aimed at him. This man walked away from me and stood by the wall to the right of the door and turned to face the wall as we indicated. I came up and knocked him out. We collected our things and took 3 clips from the gun from him. We carefully looked out of this room. There was no one there. There was only a long corridor. We had to guess which way to go. "Maybe we should go left?" Natasha asked. I did not refuse, since I had nothing to lose. We walked along the corridor to the very end until we came across a staircase. And then I said, "I'll go first. Wait for me here." "Okay." Natasha answered me. I went down these stairs. There was no one there. I had to tell Natasha to come down. I went up again, but Natasha was gone. Everything is blurry in my eyes. My thoughts are lost. I don't even know what to think. Where is Natasha? I asked myself in my head. I went down the same corridor and noticed that one of the doors was open. I went in there. The room was big. "Wow, there's so much here," I said to myself not very loudly, and immediately heard a noise behind a huge shelf with weapons. I took the gun, quietly sneaked up, and abruptly ran behind the shelf. Phoo! It was Natasha. "Why are you here?" I asked Natasha. "This door was poorly closed, so I came in here," she muttered back to me. I was already scared. I didn't know what to think, where to run. "I told you to wait for me. Now is not the time to quarrel. We need to get out of here." I completely agreed with Natasha. We took some food and canned goods from this room. I gave Natasha a pistol with a silencer and a shotgun, S-12. I took a Dragunov sniper rifle and a revolver. "Everyone, let's go. We can't stay here for long," I said in a low voice. We returned to the stairs and went down. "It's strange. Why is it so quiet?" Natasha asked. "I have no idea." "Look!" I point to the emergency exit and pull Natasha after me. "Let's go out through this door." When we went outside, it seemed to us that we were in some kind of abandoned factory, where there was not a single human soul even before people were infected. There were tall pipes and brick buildings around, behind them high walls with barbed wire wound around them. We did not know where to go, where to hide. But one thing we knew for sure, that we had a goal. This is to get out of here and get to the central concert hall. And suddenly I saw a guard who was standing on the tower. He was armed. We started thinking how to get around him. And suddenly I saw a guard standing on the tower. He was armed. We started thinking how to get around him. Suddenly a large gate opened. 2 cars, an armored personnel carrier, and a bus drove in. We decided to steal one of the cars and get out of there as quickly as possible. So Natasha, now we have to act quickly, I said. Okay, but let's repeat the plan. She answered me. Okay, so we make our way to the cars. I'll open the gate and you start the transport. Just don't let us down. Every second counts. We crawled up to the cars, just in case we decided to crawl under one of the transports and wait a little. We waited about an hour, then one of the guards went somewhere. Natasha, come on. This is our chance. Are you ready? I asked. Yes, come on. With God. We had to act quickly. I ran up to the gate and didn't know how to open it. From around the corner I let out a scream and then shots. Natasha had already started the engine and pulled up to me. I didn't know what to do. I thought it was the end. At that moment, my whole life flashed before my eyes. I remembered all the good moments. Natasha, listen, Before I could finish speaking, Natasha interrupted me. Look at the locks. Shoot at them. I turned around and shot at the entire door. It tilted a little and hung. Natasha pressed the gas and knocked down the gate. I ran after her and jumped into the car. They were chasing us. Natasha, faster! They're behind me. Faster! I quickly said to Natasha. Do you think this is easy? She answered me excitedly. I started shooting back. One of the cars swerved sharply and flipped over. The second one stopped and didn't continue the chase. Natasha, I said in a low voice. What? I was silent because I didn't understand anything. She looked at me. Blood? She was surprised. I kept silent because I didn't understand anything. She looked at me. Blood? She was surprised. We drove for about 5 minutes, then stopped. We need to stop the bleeding, Natasha said. She rummaged through the entire glove compartment until she found the first aid kit. The bullet went through, Natasha said with relief. She bandaged the wound and helped me get into the car. Where are we going now? She asked me in a quiet voice. Let's go far away from here, I answered impatiently. We drove for about an hour. We were terribly hungry, very thirsty. And as always, according to Murphy's Law, we had little gas. We decided to drive on. Soon we saw a black Jeep standing on the edge of the road. We drove closer. Natasha took the gun and said to me, Sit here and don't go out. No, I won't let you go alone. I interrupted her insistently. I took her hand and said quietly, almost in a whisper, I love you very much. She said nothing. She looked into my eyes, moved closer and kissed me. I will go with you. No, don't, everything will be fine. Natasha answered me. She got out of the car and slowly headed towards the Jeep. I couldn't watch her sneak up, took the shotgun and followed her. It was hard to walk. I wanted to scream from the pain. But I didn't show it. I didn't walk fast, but I walked confidently. So I'll go first, and you cover me. Be careful, Natasha said after me. That's it. I'm already near the Jeep. I open the door and take a step back. Oddly enough, there was no one there. We drained the gas, took whatever we could take and went on. We drove for about 4 hours. It was getting dark. We need to find a place to stay for the night, Natasha told me. I hope we'll soon arrive at some populated area. I answered. Another hour and a half later, we entered a town called Aromashevo. I hope we'll arrive in some populated area soon, I replied. Another hour and a half later, we entered a town called Aromashevo. About 300 meters from the entrance, there was a gas station. We drove into this gas station. I inserted the gun into the gas tank. I had to go to the booth to turn on the gas supply. For a long time, I couldn't figure out how to turn on the exact pump near which our car was parked. I poked all the buttons and hooray, it worked. We moved on, until we came across a store. It was called Ogonyuk. I took the Spas 12 and went inside. Natasha, of course, took the gun and followed me. I should have stayed in the car. No, I'll go with you, especially since your wound still hasn't healed, Natasha replied to me. Then stand and wait near the entrance. I carefully opened the door, was already ready to shoot, and entered the store. The shelves were empty, but oddly enough the room was clean. Suddenly a shot rang out. Before I could think of anything, I quickly fell to the floor. I didn't know what to do next. I didn't even want to look around. I was already wounded, and now they would kill me. What about Natasha, and who could have shot? I thought of all this in an instant. Stop, don't shoot! These are people. We have good intentions, I muttered. A man of about 30 came out from behind the door that led to the warehouse. Tall, athletic, he stood with a Mosin rifle. He introduced himself as Alexey. He called me to the warehouse. There was a lot of food, water supplies, bandages, and medicines. We took large bags and put in them all the essentials that we could take with us. I went out first. Lyoka followed me. I froze, stood rooted to the spot, trying to figure out where Natasha was. What happened? Why did you stop abruptly? Asked Lyoka. There was a girl with me named Natasha. She disappeared. I answered him. I went to the car. The keys were gone. The guns were gone. I started to worry about Natasha a lot. Natasha! I screamed loudly at the top of my voice. There was no answer. Lyoka, can you start the car without a key? Sure, that's the question. Once you start it, wait for me. Okay, it'll be ready in about 3 minutes. Lyoka answered me. Just in time, I said to Lyoka. I walked around the store, walked between the buildings, shouted as loudly as I could, but there was no reaction. I returned to the car and sat in the driver's seat, and Lyoka sat next to me in the passenger seat. We still had to look for a place to stay for the night, but we decided to look for Natasha. It had already become quite dark. We drove up to some 2-story building. We need to choose an apartment with a locked door, Alexey advised me. Why is that? I asked. Because it will be possible to close it. I decided to look for a locked door in order and started with apartment number 1. I was lucky. The apartment was immediately locked. Lyoka, let's come here. It's locked here, I said in a half whisper. Now what should we do? Look at her. Now everything will be... Lyoka answered in a barely understandable voice. He took out paper clips, about 3 of them. He started to pick at the keyhole. Suddenly there was a click, followed by 2 more. The door opened. We entered the apartment. Closed the door with all the locks. My, so to speak, partner gave a little command. I closed the door. It was warm in the apartment. We took our backpacks off our shoulders and put them by the door without moving away from it. Oh, relief. Why is it so quiet here? I asked, taking a step. I turned my head to the left, to the passage into the room, and noticed the silhouette of a person. My eyes darkened. I was knocked out. I turned my head to the left, to the passage into the room, and noticed the silhouette of a man. Everything went dark before my eyes. I was knocked out. I turned my head to the left, to the passage into the room, and noticed the silhouette of a man. Everything went dark before my eyes. I was knocked out. I dreamed that there was no zombie apocalypse, everything was fine, and I was walking with Natasha. I woke up. Lyoka was sitting in front of me. What happened? Look for yourself. There were 2 guys lying near the window, chained to the radiator. Was it they who knocked me out? Are they even alive? How did you deal with them? I asked again. Too many questions. Come on, get up. You need to eat and interrogate these guys. Lyoka answered me briefly. We ate. We approached the guys. They still hadn't woken up. The guys are in good shape, almost without scratches. One has an athletic build, and the second is more frail. They have identical tattoos on their right hands. Maybe they served together? I thought. Suddenly, Leka's voice was heard from the next room. San, come here. I entered the room that was through the wall, and then I was surprised. Where did they get so much stuff? There were various weapons, a lot of canned food and water. We need to talk to them urgently. That's what I'm talking about. Leka answered me. We approached these 2 and started hitting one of them on the cheeks. He came to, and his eyes darted around looking at me, then at Leka. I put a knife to his throat. He froze. And then Lyoka insistently said, "If you listen to us, you will stay alive." We lifted him up, took him to the kitchen, sat him down, and tied him to a chair. "Well, do you understand that this is for safety?" asked Lyoka. I understand. Of course I understand. "What is your name?" I asked. "Igor." "Well, Igor, are you going to cooperate with us?" Lyoka interrupted him. "Who are you and where are you from?" I asked after Lyoka, not letting Igor answer. "There is a base on the other side of the village. There are quite a few people there. Artyom and I are also from there, but we escaped. They wanted to kill us because we found out about their development." "What other development?" I asked again. "Development to create a chemical serum." Igor answered me. "What kind of serum?" Lyoka inquired. "After this serum is injected into a person, they can be controlled. And they want to create a serum for zombies, so they want to seize territory. Now our goal with Tema is to destroy their base. Well then, let us join you," I suggested. "Well, what do you think, Lyoka?" "I agree." We approached Artem. He immediately came to his senses. He looked at everyone the same way, then looked at his hand. "Yegor, what the feck? Why am I in handcuffs? And why the F and K are you standing next to them?" said Tioma, not understanding what was going on. We explained to him what and how. They ate. They made us a plan of the base, showed us the location on the map, told us all the weak points, where there are usually how many guards and what weapons are best to go with. We remembered everything and started training. It was getting on in the evening, time to sleep. We need to take turns on duty. We'll be on duty in pairs, Yegor and Lyoka first, then me and Tioma. Not everyone trusts each other here, I suggested. I completely agree. Tioma supported. We went to bed. Lyoka and Yegor stayed on duty. I didn't sleep all night. I thought about all these events. I found Lyoka, but lost Natasha. We found Artem and Igor with Lyoka, and then there was this serum and the storming of the base. It was just madness. All these thoughts didn't let me sleep. I fell asleep only an hour before my shift. Well, Lyoka woke me up. "Get up, Sanya, go to work," he said. I didn't even get any sleep. "Oh well, how was the night without incident?" I asked. Lyoka hesitated, but then said, "Near the neighboring house. Yegor and I heard some rustling, but we didn't dare check. The rustling was strange, as if something was scraping on metal." Lyoka said, "We'll check that place together at dawn," I answered. "Okay, I want to sleep. Go already." As if I don't want to. I muttered under my breath. Artyom and I took over the shift. Nothing happened before dawn. I even took a nap for a couple of hours and felt cheerful. Artyom, thank God, didn't feel like talking about anything. When Lyoka and Yegor woke up, we all had breakfast, canned food, bread. After all, we decided to check the house where we were rustling. We left Yegor at home. He twisted his ankle just before leaving. Well, all the better. He's guarding the house. Well, let's move out. But please, without noise, I commanded. We reached the neighboring house without incident. Having looked through the whole house, we didn't even find any traces, not to mention that there wasn't even any metal in the house. It was strange. Well, we didn't find anything and headed home. We need to train. We argued for a long time about where we could train. "Let's find an open field far from the city," Yegor said. "Are you crazy? After the first shot, zombies will flock to you like flies to manure," Lyoka said. And then it dawned on me. "Haven't you noticed that we haven't seen a single zombie in the city these last 2 days?" I asked. "You're not thinking about that. They just didn't come across us, and there are so many of them." Artem answered me. "You better think about where we can train and not think about zombies," said Lyoka. "Yegor, Artem, you have at least 8 silencers, right?" I asked. Yes, we do. So what? That's it. We can make improvised targets in the basement of the house. It's quite spacious. And we can shoot at targets only from weapons with the silencer, I said. Everyone supported the idea, and that's what we decided on. Having created targets from boards and bags filled with sand, we began training, but were interrupted by a strong blow in the street. We started training, but we were interrupted by a strong blow in the street. We were confused, did not understand what was happening. Grab your weapons and quickly into the house, I shouted, picking up my weapon. We ran into the apartment where we spent the night. Lyoka was standing by the window, leaning against the wall and trying to see what had happened. Yegor, Tioma, and I were sitting on the floor getting ready for battle. So guys, I don't know what that was, but we have 2 tasks at the moment. The first is to be on guard, shoot to kill, but make sure that these are not our own, and if they have weapons. The second is to go out now and check everything around. We will communicate via radio. Got it? Lyoka explained his plan. Well, that's it, guys. Let's move out, I said decisively. We went out into the yard. There was a light fog throughout the yard. It smelled of burning. Everything around was gray and gloomy. We decided not to go one by one, but to go in pairs. I sent Lyoka and Tema to check the streets of the city and at the same time look for food in the stores. And I went with Yegor to find out what happened. We walked for about 10 minutes. In the forest, which was not far from our shelter. I took the radio. Before I could say that everything was fine, we came across a helicopter. More precisely, a crashed helicopter. It looked like a private helicopter, blue, curved blades, broken glass. The engine smoked heavily. Traces of bullets were visible on the right side. They are hunting for it, I said clearly. What makes you think that? Yegor asked me without understanding anything. They were shooting at it, which means someone wanted to take something. Suddenly I was interrupted by a hissing from the radio. Sanya, we are near that base. Come back immediately. They are going somewhere, Lyoka said quickly. I will search the helicopter and we will return to the shelter, I told Yegor. I went up to the helicopter and saw there. I approached the helicopter and saw a dead man there. Next to him lay a black briefcase, a first aid kit, some folder and a pistol. I grabbed it all without thinking. Yegor, let's get back, I commanded, turning to him. We ran to the house. Suddenly Yegor shouted, Fuck a leg! I immediately rushed to him. I saw a huge rod sticking out in Yegor's legs. Oh my God, Yegor, it's your leg, I said in confusion. Sanya, we have to go. Leave me. Yegor answered without thinking about anything. No, we left together, we'll leave together. Get up, I ordered. We'd been walking for 10 minutes at a slow speed. We couldn't go faster, since his wounded leg did not move at all. There were about 800 meters left, but the sound of engines was heard. Yegor and I lay down in some ditch. The cars were approaching. We froze, trying not to attract the slightest attention. Then they drove by. I pulled Yegor out of the ditch. We tried to walk as fast as possible. A small house was visible in front. A dilapidated hut, a sagging roof, blackened logs, boarded up windows, slightly tilted to the side. Yegor, let's try and get to that hut, I asked. Sanya, I'm trying my best, Yegor said in response. There was very little left to the shelter, just a little bit. Suddenly the hiss of the radio was heard again. Guys, where are you? Lyoka asked over the radio. Answer! Lyoka, there is no time. I'll get in touch later, I answered so as not to waste time. We reached the hut. I contacted Lyoka and Artyom, explained the whole situation, and started to temporarily treat the wound. Yegor needs to treat the wound, I said, taking bandages and alcohol out of the first aid kit. It's going to be bad now. Be patient, I said before treating the wound with alcohol. Yegor could barely restrain himself. He was enduring with all his might. After treating the wound, I bandaged it. It was not for nothing that we took the first aid kit, I said, looking at my leg. Well, now you're as good as new. Will you be able to walk? I don't even know. I probably can, Yegor answered, trying to get up. We moved on, making sure that no one was there. 28 minutes later, we were at the house. It was getting dark. We went into the first apartment. Tyoma met us. Artyom, where's Lyoka? I asked again. He was in the kitchen, trying to figure out some device, he told me in response. Tyoma led Yegor to the next room to properly recall the wound. I went to the kitchen, saw an incomprehensible device on the table, next to which Lyoka was sitting. I went into the kitchen and saw an incomprehensible device on the table next to which Lyoka was sitting. What is it? I asked. So I'm trying to figure it out. Lyoka answered me. We all ate a little together. We went into the next room and I suggested looking at everything I found in that helicopter. Guys, look, I said in surprise, holding some kind of vial with liquid inside in my hand. Wow, that's serum, Tyoma noted. Look, some formulas. It seems that this is the composition of this serum. Yegor suggested looking at the sheets with different inscriptions. Sanya, did you take this from the helicopter? Lyoka asked thoughtfully and quietly. Yes. Wait. I get it. This man tried to escape, but he was shot down and those people are looking for this folder, I said quickly and almost incomprehensibly. Perhaps they themselves do not know what is needed for this serum. That's why they will look for it at any cost. Artem suggested his version. It was getting dark outside, black, and at the same time, thick clouds were floating across the sky, blocking the moonlight. So guys, let's go to bed already. Artem and Igor, stay on duty, and in 4 hours, Sanya and I will replace you, Lyoka suggested. We fell asleep right away. I had a dream. Summer, the sun is shining. A warm breeze is wrapping my cheeks. The sun's rays are gently warming. Low trees stand on either side of me. A few meters away on the right side, there is a bench. I slowly walk to that place. Yellow fallen leaves crunch under my feet. And now I'm already sitting on the bench. A girl on a bicycle rides past me. She is about 6 years old. She stopped in front of me, turned to me. Her face was white, light hair, very dark eyes, and a smile was shining. She was dressed in a white dress, and on her feet were something like sandals. But I did not really see. I smiled back. Suddenly, Lyoka and I jumped up sharply. Before we could understand anything, we immediately grabbed our weapons. There was that sound in the street again, as if something was scratching metal. Tyoma, Yegor, where are you? I asked in a half-whisper, walking through all the rooms. They were nowhere to be found. Lyoka and I agreed that we would wait until the morning, only then we would go looking for the guys. Sanya, you go to bed, and I will stand guard. And then will you replace me? Lyoka suggested an option. I went to bed. To be continued.